Now let's welcome Dana Nevins.
All right, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about trees. I'm kind of an expert with trees, actually. I come from a long lineage of green thumbs in my family. Actually, I have a late uncle that had an orchard. When I moved to San Diego from Michigan back in 2003, I was actually fascinated by the idea that I could grow any fruit tree on earth in that one locale there in the climate. So I have about 100 fruit trees in my backyard, and I can tell you just about anything you need to know. But today we're going to actually talk about a different kind of tree. We're going to talk about category trees. So what's really interesting about the automotive DIY market is that the innate barriers are pretty significant. You can see here, we're right in there with furniture and groceries. Groceries have the perishability. Furniture is bulky, hard to ship. Automotive has a different set of barriers. You're dealing with the same day repairs. You're dealing with, if you're driving down the road and you get a flat tire, you can't just not go to work and wait for the new tire to come in the mail. You got to pretty much take it to the tire store and get it replaced immediately. You're also dealing with people who are looking for pre-sale research, want to figure out what they want to buy, what's the right product, how do I solve my problem, and then post-sale support. If I buy this product, am I going to get somebody who I can call and ask questions? The retail market covers this very well. I can go see products in person. E-commerce is a little tougher because you're having to research these products and figure out what you want to buy. What we're going to talk about today is how to get organized, make sure you pick the right criteria for success, understand your platform limitations, managing your part type mapping to the category tree, as well as post-live testing and maintenance. If you have a well-planned strategy, you could be successful, but if you don't, you could end up like this Cadillac out to pasture. So I always recommend to start with breaking out a whiteboard. This allows you to get really organized and be able to plot out what your category is going to look like, and you can also erase and change things. And you really want to think about the success criteria, prioritizing your key products, especially if you're a manufacturer. It's your own brand. It could be the cornerstone product for your purchase. If you're selling Jeep accessories, the lift kit is probably one of the first things you think about. So those cornerstone products really need to be available within 3 clicks. You don't want people having to stumble over the smaller accessories and add-ons along with your money makers. So there's a lot of studies out there related to human short-term memory. We're really good at storing between 5 to 9 items. And if you get beyond that, I see categories out there that'll have 20 subcategories. People just get overwhelmed. They end up maybe not making as informed of a decision as they could. I like to think of it like Goldilocks. If you have too many products within your category, you're going to be a little too cold. If you have too few products, it's a little too hot. And you really want to have that right balance, and having good product names and descriptions to help people make that decision is pretty important. And then, of all the information that I'm going to talk about today, I think one of the key takeaways is this item here. When you're thinking through each of your categories, each category should be a place you'd send traffic to. If you wouldn't send PPC traffic, SEO traffic, social media traffic, email traffic to a category, then it shouldn't be a category. An example of this would be you definitely send traffic to an F-150 floor mats category. You probably wouldn't send traffic to a tan floor mats category. And I'm going to try and help you differentiate that. Less is better. I like to think that if you're spending $1,000 a day on PPC, if you're spreading that $1,000 across 1.5 million products, your budget per product is very small, and it's going to be very difficult to manage that campaign. Whereas if you were focused in spending $1,000 on one part type for just one brand, you could be very effective, and you're probably spending at the level of the big guys. So that ties into picking a niche. If you have a niche focus and you're specializing in one particular vehicle or one particular part type, you can create a lot of good content that's going to lead to that pre-sale research that people are looking for, as well as give people the confidence of the post-sale support. Still, even with this, and I'll tell people this all the time when they call and ask about what I recommend. Why can't I be Auto Anything? Why can't I have 1.5 million SKUs? And I remind people, Auto Anything started out selling seat covers and then built from that. And we look at a lot of the big successful guys, if you talk to them about how they started, they all started in a niche. So when we look at platform limitations, which could be also opportunities as well, You want to have a system that has a year, make, model lookup. And if the year, make, model lookup is sticky, it allows people to search through the categories. As they're in the categories, they're able to see filtered results that remain filtered. If you don't have a year, make, model lookup, then you're going to put your category tree put the vehicles in the category tree. You start with vehicle and then part types underneath that, and then you're dealing with left-hand attributes and faceted navigation. These are usually color, size, and material. Again, it goes back to the floor mat. You wouldn't create a category for tan floor mats unless your platform didn't allow you to have an either option set or a left-hand filter for that. And then product grouping is another important element. There's a lot of systems out there that can give you a great website, but you end up going into the tonneau cover category, and you got 5,000 SKUs to sift through. And if you group them, people will ask, well, what is a product group? What is a product series? The industry name is product series. This would be like a backflip G2 WeatherTech digital fit floor mat. If you were to go into the WeatherTech floor mats category without the products grouped, you'd have 5,000 SKUs. If you group them, you end up with 4 or 5 key products that you can compare features and benefits before you put your vehicle fitment in. So once you've got the right platform and the right strategy, next you want to think about mapping your part types to the category tree. And one of the things we run into a lot, and this is where some of the manufacturers can learn a little bit about what we deal with on the front end, is how do you get the data to differentiate similar products? There's one part type for tonneau cover. Within the tonneau cover, you've got hard folding tonneau covers, you've got soft rolling tonneau covers. Those attributes need to be available, and not just in the description, not just in the title. And bumper is a particularly interesting scenario because there's one part type for bumper, and then you've got an attribute for position. You really would never see a category with front bumpers and rear bumpers commingled on a successful website. Those would be separated usually. And so the data needs to be available. And one other example outside of automotive would be a T-shirt. You could have 2 literally identical T-shirts, but the tag on the back could either be hanging out or printed on the inside. And that would be an important factor for a buyer to make that decision. Think about products that have multiple uses, like lighting. Lighting could be in the lighting category. It could also be in the recovery category, the towing category. And this brings me to an interesting story I have with my urban homestead that I'm forming. I was building a chicken coop, and I needed some unfinished redwood lumber. I was at my local Home Depot, and I bought all the supplies I needed, thought I had everything, got it built, and it's pretty much done. I needed a few more pieces, and I was running a different errand, and I ended up going to a different Home Depot, and I walked in, and right from the get-go, I was frustrated. Nothing was in the same spot as the other Home Depot that I was used to. And I think the aisles in a store is a lot like a category tree because, as I'm looking around for the lumber, I go over to the lumber section. There's about 3 aisles. I walk up and down, look everywhere. Could not find this unfinished redwood lumber. And I, went and asked some employees. I had one guy. He kind of looked a little bit. Another guy disappeared. Was looking on a computer. This next guy, we went out front. We were looking in case they were on special. It took 5 separate people, and over a half hour, we finally found this lumber out in the lawn and garden section, which kind of made sense because they had a display with fencing and stuff. But I think it highlights that, the importance of thinking about how other people are going to perceive where a product should be. I think in an e-commerce environment, you want to put products in multiple categories. There's a real opportunity for upsales. I think this also highlights the fact that your employees should have a crisp understanding of your product base and your customer base and where the products are at in the site to be able to assist them. And I think the big takeaway is the fact that in a retail store, I'm going to put the effort in. I'm going to look. I'm going to find it because my alternative is to get in a car and drive to another store, and that's kind of that pain threshold is higher than trying to find it. But in an e-commerce environment, I'm bouncing. I'm out of here if I can't find what I'm looking for. So you think about the may we suggest. It's not always on the product page. Usually, the functionality in e-commerce systems is to have that in the product page. What I propose is to put those products in your category, and this lends itself to having a narrow focus. There's 5 manufacturers of winches. If you offer every single winch brand, every single model of winch, you're going to have a category with hundreds of products in it. My recommendation is, if you're selling bumpers, pick one brand of winch that you can endorse and that you know well, and then you're going to have a cleaner shopping experience where you can include wiring kits and other accessories that go along with that. And I kind of equate this to like cookies. If you're at the grocery store, and you're shopping for cookies, they're in the cookie aisle, of course, but you can find cookies in the bakery section, you can find cookies in the checkout aisle, you can find cookies in the holiday aisle, you can find cookies next to the milk, and that is all driving more sales for the store. So, and then the final piece on the data is the product grouping. I think we probably spend the most time trying to figure out how to group this, and it's not even consistent from one site to the next. If we have one site that's selling everything under the sun, you may group your products so that when you go into it, you've got the filter, say a WeatherTech floor mat, you're going to filter by front and rear, then you're filter by color, and there's one more filter, but you're going to have multiple filters within the product. Whereas if you're looking at a site that's just selling floor mats, you're going to break those out into more separate products that are landing pages that you could drive traffic to. So where that data comes from is pretty important. In some scenarios, we're joining together the merchandise name and the part type. Other scenarios, we're having to extract this from the description of the product. And as a manufacturer, maintaining that data, helping to provide information where we can tell what products to group and have attributes to apply those filters is important. And then finally, we'll look at the post-live testing and maintenance. A/B testing is critical. If I were to provide consultation, the number one advice I could give to anybody is testing, A/B testing, especially with mega menus. There's a big movement now to have these great big mega menus with lots of pictures, lots of information. And the idea, and I buy into the idea, is to get somebody down to the product as quick as possible by giving them multiple tiers in the menu. But you can't overwhelm somebody. Again, we talk about the rule of 7, and if we're using images and other guidance tools to get people into the products, that can be overwhelming sometimes. Our brains, the human brain, is really wired to read text fast. We grow up reading, we can read through a list of text and there's no interpretation needed. But if you've got pictures, what you think is a picture for exhaust might be different than what someone else thinks is a picture for exhaust. And the brain has to go through, look at the picture, what does this picture mean? What's in that category? And then do that 7 times. It's more information to digest and more opportunity for people to fail in their shopping experience. So I'm actually starting to lean more towards navendizing, using text links for your subcategories, but then using the extra space in the menu to show a featured product or a featured category or a promotion code, and which is really merchandising, organizing your products and organizing your shopping experience to drive more sales. And then with priority, you can use, alphabetical is pretty common, but if you look at Amazon, they really prioritize by popularity and the value of the categories. So if you're making changes, I'm going to give you some ideas. Some of the other presenters are probably going to give you some ideas today, and you'll talk to vendors. Don't just go home and change your website completely overnight. You want to test first, find out what's working, look at what's working, and make changes incrementally. Making sure to do 301 redirects, and knowing that whenever you change the content on a page, or if the URL changes, Google is going to have to basically figure out what is this. And I've seen PPC campaign costs double from changing the content on pages because Google has to recatalog the content relevancy. So being very thoughtful of that. And so when you're testing, the best way to test, in my opinion, and be able to see in real time what's happening is looking at heat maps. There's a tool called Lucky Orange. It's an excellent tool. I use it myself. Lucky Orange lets you watch visitors in real time. You can see where their mouse is moving as they're reading. You can see what they're typing in the search box. You can even see them live chatting with your reps. It'll actually show you the live chat box. And the coolest thing is if you see somebody who's stuck, you can actually live chat with them directly and ask them, hey, is there anything I can help you with? So that's pretty neat to be able to do that. And then the one little nugget out of heat mapping in particular that I find fascinating is watching people use the breadcrumb. Breadcrumb was, I remember when breadcrumbs were trending in the early 2000s, and that was a major feature to add to your platform. It's interesting to see now the way people are using breadcrumbs. A lot of times they're trying to go up the tree and see how they're basically trying to tweak the shopping experience on their own. If they just hit the back button, they're browsing. They're just looking at stuff that's harmless. But if they're actually trying to reverse engineer your shopping experience, it may be an indication of a bigger issue. Here's a heat map, actually. This is from Lucky Orange. You can see a lot of clicks on the navigation menu. You can see a few clicks on the next slide button. And of course, you can see some clicks on the pricing. Everybody wants to know what it costs, right? So today my offer, free consultation. This is a lot of information. I know it's a lot like drinking from a fire hose. I have a lot more I want to say, but had to keep it tight here. So if you want a free consultation, we're at booth number 32334 at the back of the South Hall. You can sign up for a consultation at webshopmanager.com/meet. that will take you to a form on our side where you can sign up and schedule time. You can also add us to your show planner. If you just want to add it to your planner as a booth to stop by, webshopmanager.com/SEMA will take you to our link in the show planner. And then this is kind of a unique opportunity. I've spent about 20 years in the niche e-commerce industry, and I've learned a lot. I've probably been involved with over 1,000 websites, including the category trees, and how they picked a niche to be successful. And I've compiled all that. I spent about 8 months now compiling the information into one guide. It's about 50 pages long, full of information about how to choose a profitable niche. I'm going to be publishing this on Amazon. Anyone who's in here today, I'll give a free copy to. All you have to do is pull out your phone, shoot me an email, dana@webshopmanager.com, put ebook in the subject, and I'll send you a free copy as soon as we publish that. And that's it for me.